She walked in after her usual workout session, glowing, smiling, the scent of a new perfume trailing behind her. I didn't say hello. I didn't ask how the gym was. I simply opened my laptop and said, "Sit down. Watch this." She paused, smirked. Then the screen lit up hotel footage, time-stamped, no room for denial. Her smile vanished. She froze. Not like someone caught in a lie, like someone staring at their own reflection and hating what they saw. This isn't just a story about betrayal. This is about the moment a man realizes he gave everything and somehow ended up invisible. And if you've ever been that man or fear you might become him, don't scroll. Subscribe. This story isn't over. It's just getting started. Dinner was always at 6. I'd be home, apron on, flipping burgers or reheating leftovers like some TV dad from the 90s. Emily would sit across the table laughing at my recycled dad jokes. Josh teased his sister. Lily always had something wild to say about school. There was no glamour, no chaos, just a rhythm, a life built on habit and love, I thought. I used to think that routine was boring. Now I see it was sacred. One night as I cleared the plates, I caught a glimpse of our family photo, framed still almost too perfect. And I remember thinking I had everything. I just didn't know it. But the cracks had already started. I just wasn't looking in the right places. The first sign came quietly. It began with early alarms. Emily used to sleep and hit snooze 3 times, groan for coffee. Now she was up before dawn, already dressed, already gone. No breakfast today, she'd say halfway out the door. Then she started eating separate meals, meal preps with labels, chicken weighed to the ounce. She sat at the counter, facing away from us, watching fitness vlogs on her phone while we ate dinner alone. I'd ask if she was joining. She'd smile, distracted I already ate. And every night I found myself clearing an extra plate. Hers, still warm, still full, still untouched. That night, I sat at the table longer than usual, just staring at that plate like it meant something. Maybe it did, because what came next changed everything. She walked past me that morning, and I caught a scent I didn't recognize. Sharp, sweet, younger. I asked if she got a new perfume. She shrugged, didn't answer. Her gym outfit was tighter than usual, brand new tags still on, crop top, neon pink, matching leggings. Then the mirror selfies began. In the hallway, in the car, in the gym bathroom, filtered, posed, comments flooded in. Damn girl looking good. Snatched. I made a dumb joke one day. Hey, maybe I should start dressing like that. She looked up from her phone, no smile this time, and said, "Stop trying to control me." It hit me like a punch. Not because of the words, but because that voice didn't sound like my wife anymore. And from that moment on, she wasn't. The scent faded, but something louder took its place. Her phone was always in her hand, now filming, scrolling, reacting. Instagram reels, hashtags, day 21 of the glow-up grind. Every clip was a mix of gym mirrors and tight angles. Comments came in like wildfire. Body goals, "You're glowing, queen." She'd laugh, reading them aloud, to no one. One night, while she live-streamed about setting goals and ignoring negativity, Lily sat next to me on the couch, arms crossed. "Mom talks more to her phone than to us," she whispered. No anger, just sadness. Like she'd already accepted it. I didn't respond. What do you say when your kid sees something you've been trying to ignore? I looked over at Emily talking to a screen with more passion than I'd seen in years, and I realized we were losing her, and no one was stopping it. I thought maybe I was overreacting. Maybe this was just a phase. But the house got quieter. Josh came home later. Lily stayed in her room more. And when we did sit together for dinner, the 4th chair stayed empty. Emily was always editing, resting on a call. Whatever it was, it didn't include us. Josh barely touched his food. Lily asked if we could skip movie night. "Just not in the mood, Dad." And I cleared the table. 3 plates. 1 untouched. Again. This time, I didn't leave it out. I picked up her plate, walked to the cabinet, and slid it in, like it was never needed in the first place. That sound, the soft clink of porcelain, hit harder than any fight ever could. The seat wasn't just empty. It was forgotten. And so were we. Love isn't about money, but money reveals a lot. I started noticing alerts, bank notifications, a spa in the city, new athleisure sets, monthly subscriptions I'd never seen before. I tried not to dig, tried to respect boundaries. But one night while checking our joint account, I saw a charge I couldn't ignore. It wasn't the price that got me. It was the name. A fitness retreat. Out of state. 3 days. Booked. Paid in full. No mention to me. No invite. Just gone. I stared at the screen, the red transaction glaring like a warning light. Not just because of where she was spending, but who she was spending it on. That was the moment I stopped pretending. I wasn't just being excluded, I was being replaced. And I needed to find out by who. I told myself not to panic. She's just excited about something new, I thought. Let her have her thing. It'll pass. So I smiled when I didn't feel like it. I poured her coffee, even when she didn't drink it. I sent her a text while she was out shooting another fitness video. You okay? I miss you? No response for an hour. Then 2. Finally a reply popped up. Please don't text. I'm filming. No, I'll call later. Just cold. I stared at the screen and felt like I was intruding in a space where I no longer belonged. Love used to be constant. Now it was on Do Not Disturb. The silence wasn't just between texts anymore. It was between breaths, between nights, between 2 people who once told each other everything. And suddenly I started wondering what else she wasn't telling me. Nights got longer. She'd come home late, sweaty, tired, distracted. Straight to the shower, water running for what felt like hours. I'd sit on the edge of the bed, pretending to watch TV, pretending not to notice her phone face down. Locked. Always. Sometimes I'd say, "How was your session?" She'd answer from behind the door, vague and clipped. And one night, I don't even know why I reached out to touch her shoulder. Just a simple gesture, a reminder, a question without words. She flinched, pulled away like my hand burned her. Didn't yell, didn't speak, just walked to the other side of the room like I wasn't there. It wasn't rejection, it was erasure. That night, I didn't sleep, because when your own wife recoils at your touch, you start to question what's still real. I didn't tell Josh, didn't tell Lily. They already felt it, and I refused to make it heavier. So I called Karen. Old friend, Emily's best friend since high school, loyal to both of us. Someone who knew the marriage before the fractures. We met at a drive-through coffee spot just outside town. Sat in her car, rain tapping the windshield like it was trying to say something I couldn't. I didn't need many words. She saw it in my face. Something's wrong, I said. Karen looked down at her coffee, then back at me. I knew something was off. I didn't want to be the one to say it. Then she added, "You need to find the truth, Daniel, even if it tears you apart." And for the first time, I admitted it to someone out loud. I think Emily's hiding something. There's a man who lives across the street from us. Mr. Cole, retired, neatly trimmed mustache, always fixing something in his yard. He used to be a private investigator. I never thought I'd knock on his door with a question like this. But that night, I did. He welcomed me in like he'd been expecting it. We sat out back on his old wooden chairs under the buzz of a patio light. I told him everything, not in detail, just enough. Enough to say I think my wife's not being honest with me. He didn't flinch, just sipped his coffee and leaned back. Then he asked Daniel, "Are you sure you want to know everything? Because once you do, there's no going back." I didn't speak. I just nodded. Because deep down, I already knew the answer. I wasn't chasing peace anymore. I was chasing the truth. Mr. Cole wasn't emotional. He was methodical. If we start, he said, we follow patterns, not feelings. We started with her iCloud. Our devices were still synced, a forgotten setting most couples never think twice about, until one of them has something to hide. We checked her location history, date, time, map pins, all there. At first, it was what you'd expect: the gym, the grocery store, the kids' school. But then, there were gaps. Wednesday mornings, she said she was at her 6 a.m. class. The map said otherwise. Miles off. Completely different neighborhoods. I zoomed in. It wasn't a glitch. It was a lie. My stomach turned, not from what I saw, but from how cleanly it had been hidden. Mr. Cole said, "This is just the start." And I realized I was following breadcrumbs, but they were leading somewhere dark. We built a timeline. Every pin, every trip, every hour, and then we started connecting the dots. Literally, one pin stood out repeated, exact, consistent. An apartment complex uptown. Not a gym, not a studio, just a regular building with covered parking and no signage. She'd been there on Mondays, and Thursdays, and once on a Saturday night. The timestamp, 11:42 p.m. She told me she was at a wellness seminar. I looked at Mr. Cole. He didn't say anything, just clicked on the map again. Zoomed in. There it was. Same unit, same address, same lie. Over and over. The more dots I saw, the less space there was for doubt. And suddenly, this wasn't just suspicion anymore. This was a pattern, a routine, a second life. And I wasn't in it. The map had given me places, but not people. And people were what I feared most. Karen leaned across the table at a diner. "If you want to know who," she said quietly, "we do it my way." She built a fake account, fitness mom, anonymous smile, the kind of follower Emily would accept without a second thought. Within hours, she was liking posts, watching reels, dropping harmless comments. Then the private stories appeared, photos Emily hadn't posted publicly, tags, mentions. A single name kept surfacing in comments and emojis. Chase Morrison, young trainer, chiseled jaw, dozens of women calling him life-changing. Karen texted me one screenshot, no caption, just the name. And suddenly the apartment uptown wasn't just an address. It was a man inside our life. I stared at my phone, hand trembling. The picture had a face now, and I hated how much sense it made. Karen dug deeper, late night scrolling archived content. She sent me a link, an old live stream Emily had done weeks ago. I opened it, alone lights off, laptop glowing blue. There she was. Hair perfect, smile brighter than I'd seen at home in months. And in the chat, one name again and again, Chase. "Thanks to my guide," she said, looking straight at the camera, "I'm finally becoming the woman I always wanted to be." She laughed at something he typed, not a polite laugh, a private one, the kind you only share with someone who already knows you. I paused the video right there, her face frozen mid-laugh, eyes shining for a man who wasn't me. I felt my stomach drop. It wasn't just training, it was intimacy. And it was public if you knew where to look. Mr. Cole took the name and did what he does best. Public records, business filings, addresses, quiet detective work over black coffee at his kitchen table. By the next afternoon, he had a file. Chase Morrison Fitness LLC registered to the same uptown address we'd pinned. But when Cole called the building's management, the answer was simple. No gym, no studio, just apartments, private residences, no class schedules, no client list, no sign of legitimate business. The place Emily went wasn't a training facility. It was his home. Cole slid the paper across to me. "Here," he said, black and white. I stared at the address. All the lies boiled down to one simple line on a page. I didn't feel angry. I felt hollow. Because now the suspicion had a street adorer and a man behind it. And the only thing left was proof. The address wasn't enough. I needed something undeniable. So Mr. Cole did what I couldn't. He got access to the security camera's parking lot. Side entrance. Time-stamped. Dated. Cold and clear. We sat together in silence, laptop open between us. Cole hit play. There she was. Emily. Ponytail. Gym bag, smiling, laughing. And right next to her, Chase. No coach energy, no business vibe. They weren't walking like two people heading into a training session. They were strolling like they'd done this 100 times. Hands touching, then locking, fingers intertwined. At 6:08 p.m., the door opened. They disappeared inside. At 9:41 p.m., it opened again. Same two people, same silence. No words, just contact. I paused the screen, her hand still in his, and I knew this wasn't theory anymore. It was fact. Driving home, I didn't turn on the radio, didn't call anyone, didn't blink more than I had to. The wheel in my hands felt like the only thing keeping me upright. Every breath felt like swallowing glass. I saw Josh's baseball glove on the passenger seat, Lily's bracelet still looped around the gear shift. I thought about family dinners, birthday cakes, the first night Emily said she loved me. And then I thought about her hands in someone else's, how casually she walked through that door, like it cost nothing. I wanted to hit something, anything. But instead I pulled into the driveway, sat there, and chose not to brake. Because if I lost control now, I'd lose everything. My kids didn't need a man exploding. They needed one still standing. And that's exactly what I planned to be. I couldn't sleep. The footage kept playing behind my eyes. So I opened her laptop. Same password, same folders, same digital trail she forgot to hide. I went straight to the browser history, fitness sites, shopping carts, then drafted posts. She never sent them, but she wrote them. Words poured out like confessions no one was meant to read. I feel free with him. He makes me laugh without trying. I finally feel like a woman again. That one hit the hardest. Not because she said it, but because she meant it. And not once did she mention me. Not the man who supported her, held the house together, protected every inch of her life. Just a stranger with abs and empty words. She didn't just cheat on me, she erased me, sentence by sentence, and I couldn't unread any of it. I thought the worst part was over. It wasn't. I kept scrolling through the drafts, not looking for more, just needing to know how deep it went. Then I found one, a note, probably meant for a private post. It started with, "Sometimes I feel like Josh is just like his father, cold, distant, unreachable." Then right below it, "Lily needs too much. I can't breathe around her emotions." I froze, not because it was cruel, but because it was so casual, like they were weights she was trying to drop, not children she once kissed goodnight. I didn't cry, didn't rage. I just closed the laptop, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Because this wasn't just betrayal between husband and wife anymore. She had stopped seeing all of us, even the ones who never hurt her. There's a strange shift that happens when you accept the truth. You stop reacting and start collecting. I printed the photos, screenshotted the posts, downloaded the GPS data. Every detail, every lie, lined up in order like chapters in a book I never wanted to write. I copied it all to a single USB drive, labeled it in Sharpie Emily. Truth. Not for revenge, not for blackmail, just clarity. Proof. Because when the time came to speak, I didn't want to stutter. I held that drive in my palm, and it felt heavier than any wedding ring. Because this wasn't love anymore. It was evidence, and deep down, I already knew when I'd use it. That night, the house was dead quiet. Kids upstairs, TV off, just the soft ticking of the old kitchen clock. The lights were dim except for the one over the sink. I sat alone at the table, fingers wrapped around a glass of water I hadn't touched. I heard the car pull up, then keys at the door. Emily walked in, smiling, lips glossed, bags in hand, the smell of hotel shampoo trailing behind her. She looked at me like nothing had changed, like I was just a couch she passed on the way to bed. "Hey, babe," she chirped. "Wait till you see the photos from tonight's event." I didn't move, didn't smile, because in my pocket was the USB, and on the laptop in front of me was the video she didn't know I had queued up. And now it was time to press play. She set the bags on the counter and kept talking, scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. I stood up, pulled out the chair across from me. "Sit down." She glanced up confused. I opened the laptop and hit play. The kitchen filled with the quiet sound of a parking lot camera. She watched herself on screen, smiling, walking hand in hand with Chase into the building. No words, no edits, no excuses. Her smile cracked first, then her eyes. She reached for her phone as if she could scroll away the image, but the footage kept rolling. I didn't say a word. I didn't look away. I just let the silence do what words couldn't. For the first time in months, she stopped moving, completely still, frozen in her own lie. And she knew I knew. All of it. The footage ended. Silence stayed. Then she spoke sharp fast, like glass shattering. "You went through my life without permission. You had no right. This is my privacy. You're controlling." I still didn't raise my voice. I just closed the laptop, turned it toward me, and said, "That's not privacy, Emily. That's betrayal." The words hung heavy between us, louder than a scream. She opened her mouth shut. It opened it again, searching for something that would make this disappear. But there was no spin left, no filter, no caption. I'd stripped it all down to reality. And reality doesn't negotiate. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She didn't pick it up. For the first time, it wasn't me who looked small. It was her. She expected me to yell, to accuse, to plead, to do anything but this. I sat back down, both hands on the table, voice low enough to steady my own heart. "If you want this new life, you go live it. Tonight. But you'll look our kids in the eyes when you're ready to tell them the truth. Until then, you won't see Josh or Lily. No threats. No drama. Just a door opening and closing. Her choice." She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was, because I wasn't the man she could manipulate anymore. I wasn't invisible. I'd turned pain into clarity, and clarity into action. Her lips parted like she might argue, but nothing came out. All that was left now was the sound of a suitcase being pulled from the closet. She didn't say another word, just walked upstairs, opened the closet, and pulled out a suitcase. No yelling, no tears yet. Just zippers and hangers, folded clothes, drawer after drawer, emptied like it was a hotel checkout. I stood by the door, watching, not to stop her, just to witness the end. She paused once, reached for her gym bag, then turned around. Her eyes landed on a frame by the dresser, our family at the lake one summer when Josh was still afraid of the water. Lily with her arms around Emily's neck. She picked it up, stared at it for a second, then put it back down. Carefully, she turned again. Didn't look at me. The suitcase clicked shut. She walked past me, no words, no eye contact, and the door. It closed like a final breath. I didn't sleep, but the kids needed answers before silence started writing its own version. The next morning, I called them down to the living room. No TV, no distractions, just us. Josh sat back, arms crossed. Lily curled into the corner of the couch, knees up to her chest. I didn't sugarcoat it. I didn't protect her image. I didn't assign blame. I told them what happened, calm, clear, and real. She made choices, I said, and now things are going to be different. Lily broke first. Tears quiet, steady. Josh didn't cry, but his silence screamed louder than her sobs. I reached out, placed my hand on each of their shoulders. They didn't pull away. I didn't say, "It'll be okay." I said, "We'll figure it out together." That moment right there was the start of a new kind of family. The house was still, no footsteps, no whispered phone calls, no smell of perfume hanging in the air, just me. The bed was too wide, too cold. The alarm clock blinked 2:13 a.m. in the darkness. I stared at the ceiling, counting ceiling fan rotations like they meant something. They didn't. I wasn't crying. I wasn't angry. I was empty. All I could think was I gave her everything. Years, children, trust. And somewhere along the way, I stopped being a husband. I became a shadow in the background. Reliable, predictable, invisible. Not because I was weak, but because I was never seen. That night, I didn't sleep, but I made a silent promise. I would never let myself disappear like that again. Not for anyone, not even for love. The next morning, I stood in front of the fridge with a marker and a blank whiteboard. I erased everything she'd written, appointments, fitness goals, reminders, and I started fresh. A new family calendar, laundry days, who takes out trash. Even silly things like who picks the weekend movie. The house needed rhythm again. Not perfection, just rhythm. I scrambled eggs, made toast, poured orange juice like it meant something. Josh came down first. Lily followed a few minutes later, quiet eyes, puffy. She stood next to me at the counter, barefoot, arms crossed. Then, almost too soft to hear, "Can I help?" I handed her a spatula. And just like that, she flipped her first pancake. And maybe we flipped something else too. It wasn't a full family, but it was an honest one. And for now, that was enough. Saturday used to be family grocery day. This time, it was just me and Josh. 2 carts, 1 silence. We didn't talk much, just picked things off the shelves, checked lists, nodded quietly. Halfway through, I reached for frozen waffles and he grabbed cereal. He looked at me and said out of nowhere, "I don't hate her dad. I'm just tired." I didn't respond right away because that sentence was heavier than the cart. We kept walking. No dramatic music, no slow tears, just 2 men navigating a grief no one could see. When we reached checkout, I paid. He bagged. Like a team that didn't need words. I realized then Josh wasn't angry. He was exhausted from pretending he wasn't hurt. And I knew the next battle wasn't with Emily anymore. It was making sure this boy didn't harden into a man who stopped feeling. She texted me 3 days later, "Can I see the kids just to talk?" No apology, no ownership, just request. I took a deep breath and replied, "You can see them if you're ready to tell them the truth. No filters, no edits." A few minutes passed. Then came her response, "You're alienating me. You're turning them against me." I stared at the screen, not in anger, not in pain, just stillness. Because this wasn't about turning anyone against anyone. It was about protecting the one thing left in my control, truth. I didn't reply. I didn't argue. Boundaries weren't built to punish. They were built to protect. And for the first time in a long time, I was protecting something that mattered. My kids. And maybe, just maybe, myself. The next morning, I laced up my old running shoes. They still had dust from a time I barely remembered, back when I ran for stress, not survival. The park was quiet. Just dew on the grass, one old man walking his dog, and the sky turning pink above the trees. I started slow. breath uneven, knees tight, but each step was a little less about the past and a little more about the man I was still becoming. With every foot hitting the pavement, I felt pieces of myself fall back into place, not because I was trying to escape the pain, but because I was finally ready to move, with it, not from it. At the corner loop, I stopped, bent over, panting, and then I smiled, not because I'd gone far, but because I'd finally started again. It was a Wednesday. I got a text from Mark, an old coworker I hadn't talked to since the Christmas party 2 years ago. "You alive," it said. We met for lunch at a diner we used to hit after long shifts. Same booth, same cheap coffee. He didn't pry, just talked about softball leagues and weekend barbecues. Then he said couple guys from work started a Tuesday night poker thing. "You in?" I nodded before thinking. Not because I needed distraction, but because I finally realized I'd isolated myself too long. Later that night, I walked in and saw 4 men laughing over chips and cheap beer. They clapped me on the back, dealt me in, asked no questions. And in that moment, I remembered I wasn't just a father or a husband. I was still a man. And I was not alone. Friday evening, just after dinner, Lily handed me something wrapped in brown paper and tape. No reason, she said, just open it. Inside was a small notebook, handmade. The cover said, "For Dad," in her messy handwriting. Inside, photos, movie ticket stubs, scribbled notes from years ago. There were quotes I didn't even remember saying. "Don't let the world make you forget you're good. Be where your feet are." And on the very last page, in red ink, "Thank you for being real." I closed the book, held it against my chest, and blinked fast. Not to hide tears, just to let them land slow. Because in all the ways I thought I'd failed her, she was reminding me I hadn't. Not really. Not at all. Somewhere in the flood of quiet evenings and slow recovery, her page popped up again. Emily was posting like nothing happened. Sunset selfies, smoothies, abs, laughing with Chase like the world had been good to her. But then the rumors started. Whispers online, comments buried and then deleted, DMs from accounts saying he's done this before. Then one night, Emily found a message, a photo of Chase at a bar, his arm around a different woman. Caption, "He's always charming, until he ghosts you." She confronted him. He shrugged, said, "I never promised monogamy." That night, she called Karen. She didn't cry about love. She cried about dignity, respect. And for the first time, maybe she realized she hadn't been chosen. She'd just been convenient. The fights grew louder. At first, they were whispers, then slammed doors. Then silence. One night, the yelling spilled out into the apartment hallway. Neighbors heard. Someone posted it anonymously, "Influencer meltdown, Uptown Dallas." She told him he was selfish. He told her she was too clingy. She begged for honesty. He scrolled through his phone mid-argument. The screen lit up multiple women texting. Flirty. Familiar. Emily stormed out that night with nothing but her duffel bag and a fading sense of control. She moved into a tiny studio off Greenville Ave. No front desk, no amenities, just 4 walls and a dusty window unit. She stared at the mirror the next morning, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't like who was staring back. At first, her followers stayed. Her smile still worked. Her caption still had emojis. But the sparkle faded. The workouts felt rehearsed. The motivational talks became recycled scripts. Brands stopped emailing. PR boxes stopped coming. Likes dropped from 12K to 700 in 3 weeks. Even the bots stopped caring. She recorded a video late one night. No filter, no makeup, just her in an oversized hoodie. "I know I've let some people down." She hit record, spoke from her gut, then hovered over post. And didn't. She stared at the screen, backspaced the title, closed the app because she didn't know who she was talking to anymore. Not fans, not family, not even herself. Just the void. It came on a Tuesday. Emily's name on the screen. No emojis, no rehearsed lines, just "I know I messed up. I'd like to see the kids, if they'll let me. I miss them. I miss what we had." She added a photo of an old backyard picnic, the 4 of us smiling with mustard stains and paper plates. I stared at it longer than I should have. She said she didn't expect forgiveness, but she wanted to start somewhere. I took a deep breath. I replied one sentence, "You can come if you tell them the truth." No dancing around it. No half answers. If she was coming back into their lives, it had to be through the front door of honesty. Her response came 5 minutes later. "Okay." I read it twice, then closed my phone. Before the meeting, I sat both kids down. I told them what was about to happen. I said, "You don't have to hug her. You don't have to forgive her. You just have to listen, and you can walk away anytime." Josh didn't say much. Lily nodded and held my hand. We cleaned the living room together. I made sure the lighting was warm, not harsh. No music. No distractions. Just space to breathe. I heard her car pull up. 3 slow knocks on the door. I opened it. Emily stood there, hair pulled back. No makeup. Her eyes darting. In her hand was a paper bag with some old toys and a worn-out book Lily used to sleep with. Her voice cracked on the first word, "Hi." She sat on the edge of the couch, like she didn't belong there anymore. She turned to the kids and didn't waste time. Her words didn't come easy, but they came. "I made choices that hurt you. I chose something else when I should have chosen you. I was selfish." And yes, it was Chase. The room fell into a vacuum. No air, no noise, just a ringing in my ears. Josh clenched his jaw, stood up, and walked straight outside. Didn't slam the door, didn't say a word. That silence cut deeper than any scream. Lily stayed, her small arms wrapped around my waist. She sobbed without shame. Emily tried to speak again, but I raised my hand slightly. Not now, not to her, because some things once broken can't be spoken back into place. She looked at me after Josh left the room. Tears clung to her lashes, but I didn't step in. I turned to Lily and said calmly, "You don't have to say anything. You don't have to forgive. Not today. Maybe not ever." Then I looked Emily straight in the eye. "This isn't about second chances. This is about respecting the pieces you broke." She lowered her head, a slow nod. Not defensive, not desperate, just surrender. The kind that only comes when there's nothing left to spin. Lily held on to me tighter. I didn't add more words. I just let the silence settle because sometimes silence is the only thing strong enough to hold the weight of pain without dropping it. That moment wasn't healing. It wasn't closure, but it was safe. And sometimes, that's the first step. We didn't talk much after she left. I ordered a large pepperoni pizza extra cheese, Josh's favorite. No plates, just the box on the coffee table. Lily put on an old movie we used to watch when they were younger, the one with the dog and the kid who talked to ghosts. It used to scare them. Now it just made them smirk. I watched Josh sneak a smile mid-bite. Lily laughed when the dog farted. And for a split second, the house felt whole again. Not the way it was, but something new. I didn't try to make it deeper than it was. It wasn't a big breakthrough. It was a quiet win. And in the middle of the ruins, that was more than enough. Sometimes healing doesn't roar. It whispers between slices of pizza and bad special effects. It started with the trash schedule. Josh took over the garage and bins. Every Tuesday, like clockwork. No grumbling. Lily made it her job to water the plants out front, even named the azalea bush Captain Bloom. I handled the dishes, the laundry rotations, and Lily's school pickup. One night, after folding towels, we all ended up in the kitchen at the same time. Josh tossed Lily a clean dish rag like a football. She caught it and bowed like it was a game-winning catch. I put out my hand, joking team high five. They both smacked their palms against mine. It was ridiculous. It was ordinary. And it was the first time we felt like a team since everything. No one mentioned her name. No one needed to. Because sometimes rebuilding isn't a grand gesture. It's just putting your hands together and agreeing to try. After everything, I realized I'd spent years talking at my son instead of with him. That night, as I was cleaning up after dinner, I asked Josh how things were going with his friends. No agenda, no lecture preloaded, just curiosity. He paused. Then he started talking about school, about a girl who sits behind him in math, about a dumb meme his buddy sent. I didn't interrupt. I didn't correct. I just nodded, laughed at the right parts, and remembered what he said. When he finished, he didn't say much. Just gave me a short glance and a soft, "Thanks, Dad." That was it. But it landed like a weight I didn't know I'd been waiting to carry. Because being heard, really heard, is sometimes the most healing thing we can offer our kids. And sometimes what they need most is less advice and more presence. It was a number I still knew by heart. Emily. Her voice was low, not angry, not defensive, just hollow. "I don't know what I'm doing anymore," she said. Pause. Then quieter, "I feel empty." I leaned against the kitchen counter, the fridge humming behind me like white noise. She didn't ask for pity. She didn't beg for forgiveness. She just needed to be heard. So I told her the only truth I had left to give, then find someone who can help. A therapist, a guide, Because whether or not we ever make peace, you still deserve peace of your own. She didn't say much after that, just a shaky, okay, and hung up. Some calls aren't about fixing. They're just about witnessing someone finally look in the mirror. It was time, not out of anger, not to erase, but to honor the chapter for what it was, and let it close. I took the shared photos down one by one. The frame from Yellowstone, that awkward Christmas photo where Josh wore a Santa beard, the anniversary dinner shot Emily in red. I didn't smash anything, didn't throw it all away. I placed them into a brown cardboard box sealed with care, except for a few. I kept the ones where the kids smiled big where love, real or not, once filled the room. I labeled the box Memories, Dad's Room, and slid it under the bed. As I stood there in the quiet, I let out a long breath. No bitterness, no anger, just release. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not hold on. I finally did it. The old black SUV I drove for over a decade, family trips, late-night grocery runs, diaper emergencies. It was time. I snapped a few pictures, posted the ad online. Within a day, a young guy with oil-stained hands came to check it out. He kicked the tires, offered a number slightly below asking. I didn't haggle. Because I wasn't selling metal and rubber. I was closing a chapter. We shook hands. He handed me a check. I signed the title. For a second, I stared at my name next to hers on the old registration. Then I scribbled my name down one last time. Done. Money hit the account, but what hit harder was the quiet satisfaction of moving forward. It wasn't a loss. It was a trade-in for peace. We packed light, just a weekend bag snacks and a playlist full of classic rock. The three of us hit the road to my mom's place out past the edge of Dallas where the trees start to stand taller than the strip malls. The hum of the engine, spring sun through the windshield, Tom Petty on the radio. At a tiny gas station off the I-35, we stopped for snacks. Josh leaned against the car, sipping a root beer. Out of nowhere, he said, I used to think we were the perfect family, but maybe we were just good at standing up, even when things were already cracked. I didn't respond. I just looked at him, and in that moment, he didn't feel like a boy anymore. He was becoming, and the road ahead didn't seem so long. Grandma's house still smelled like lemon pledge and old books. We sat on the porch swing after dinner, just the three of us watching cicadas buzz under porch lights. I looked at them both and said, from now on, there's no pretending. We speak the truth, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it hurts. We show up for each other, honest, messy, real. Lily nodded, swinging gently. Josh smiled, one of those half smiles that says, I hear you. And something settled between us. Not a return to what was, not a perfect future, but a quiet, earned sense of team. No one clinked glasses, no dramatic hugs, just a shared silence that finally felt solid. Because family isn't always who stays. It's who shows up again and again. It didn't happen overnight. But somewhere between 6 a.m. jogs and switching sugar for greens, something shifted. I started sleeping better, waking up before the alarm, stretching without groaning. I made a habit of shaving every 3 days, not because I had to, but because I wanted to look like a man who gave a damn again. One morning, I caught my reflection after a run. Sweaty shirt, tired eyes, strong shoulders. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't see a broken man. I saw someone who had been through hell, but didn't bring hell with him. Self-respect doesn't come from big speeches. It grows in silence, in sweat, in choosing yourself even when no one's watching. And it shows right there in the mirror. Work used to feel like a blur. Emails, deadlines, half-hearted meetings. But something changed. I wasn't just showing up, I was present. I offered to mentor the new intern, walked him through client presentations, gave feedback that didn't feel robotic. One afternoon, my manager pulled me aside. You're steady, reliable, you've got leadership in you. Then came the email. Subject line, expanded responsibilities. Congratulations. I just stared at the screen, not for validation, but because I knew I earned it from the inside out. Recognition hits different when you're no longer begging for it, when it's a reflection, not a reward. It had been years since we lit up the grill, but that Saturday, it all came back. The smell of charcoal, the hiss of burgers, Lily's laughter, cutting through the music. Neighbors dropped by with chips and folding chairs. Mr. Cole brought his famous bourbon ribs and a crooked smile. The kids played frisbee. Josh even showed a card trick to some younger cousins. And I stood there, apron on spatula in hand, watching something rebuild without blueprints. As dusk settled in, we clinked plastic cups around the patio lights. Mr. Cole raised his. To truth. And we all echoed it, not because everything was perfect, but because we'd finally stopped pretending it had to be. Emily sent a video. No filters. Just her on a plain couch, natural light voice slightly shaking. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't make excuses. She spoke about her choices, the damage, the regret, and how she missed her kids more than she could explain. I'm not asking you to forget, she said. I'm asking for a chance to rebuild something. With honesty this time. I didn't react immediately, didn't message back. Instead, I sat Josh and Lily down that evening. I said, "There's a message from your mom. You don't have to watch it." But I think she meant every word. Then I placed the phone on the coffee table, hit play, and walked out of the room. No pressure, no persuasion, just space for them to decide. Because real healing only happens when it's chosen, not forced. I came back 10 minutes later. The video had ended. The room was quiet, but the air was thick with something more than silence. Lily was crying, shoulders shaking like she was holding in years she couldn't name. Josh stared at the carpet face blank, but fists clenched. I sat down and opened my arms. No words, just presence. They both leaned in. And as we sat there tangled in quiet grief, I whispered, "You don't have to hate her to be honest," because the world loves to frame it in black or white love, or hate, forgive, or cut off. But real life, real pain, it doesn't play by those rules. And my kids were learning what most adults still get wrong. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing not to pass the hurt forward. We all agreed if Emily was going to be in their lives again, it had to be on our terms. We met at a coffee shop near a public park, neutral ground. Josh had his headphones in but sat at the table. Lily clutched a notebook like armor. I spoke first. We're okay with visits, but there are rules. No lying, no sugarcoating, and no blame in front of the kids or behind their backs. Emily nodded. Not performative, not defensive, just ready. We agreed on alternating weekends, on family therapy, on clarity. It wasn't a surrender, it was a structure. And in that moment, something rare happened. We all nodded, not as exes, not even fully as co-parents, but as grown-ups, trying. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do after breaking something is to help draw the blueprint for how not to break it again. There was no grand soundtrack, just tacos on the table, Josh grumbling about math, Lily laughing at her own joke. I was chopping cilantro the way she likes it. Josh passed me the hot sauce without being asked. Lily danced between bites. No speeches, no fireworks, just normal. And suddenly, I saw it for what it was. A house with fewer people but more truth. Less noise but deeper echoes. Not everyone makes it to the end of your story, but the ones who stay, they help you write the realest chapters. Peace doesn't always feel like a parade. Sometimes it's just 3 chairs filled at a table and a laugh that doesn't carry guilt anymore. The park trail curved ahead like a slow exhale. It was early sun barely breaking through the branches, air still cool on my skin. I had my earbuds in, nothing dramatic, just a podcast about stoicism and a steady rhythmic breath. Each step felt less about distance, more about being here, more about being mine. I didn't need Emily to see me, didn't need the kids to validate me, didn't need to prove I'd healed, because that morning I smiled, alone, not from a joke. Not from winning anything, just from finally liking who I was without the armor. They say dawn is quiet, but for me that day it shouted, "You made it back." I sat at my desk, the lamp casting a soft glow. I opened a blank page and wrote, "Emily, thank you for the early days. Thank you for our children. I wish I'd seen you clearer back then. I wish you'd fought for us differently. I forgive you. I forgive myself. I'm letting go." It wasn't poetic, it wasn't bitter, it was honest. I folded the letter carefully, placed it in an envelope, wrote no name on it, and tucked it into the bottom drawer, never sent, never needed to, because some closure doesn't ask for a witness, it asks for release, and that was enough. No loud decisions, no dramatic declarations, just the quiet discipline of choice. I wake up and choose to show up, to answer Josh's sarcasm with patience, to sit beside Lily during homework even when I don't understand the math, to stay honest, to stay real, to stay here. That night we finished dinner and cleared the table together. Or Josh wiped the counter, Lily stacked plates, I dried silverware. We didn't talk much. We didn't have to. We just glanced up, caught each other's eyes. and nodded. A small quiet gesture, saying, "This life, this team, we're in it. Fully." The image still plays in my head sometimes, that first night I said, "Sit down, watch this." I remember her face cracking in silence. I remember the weight in my chest, the ache in my children's eyes, the echo of emptiness in a full house. But I also remember what came next. The rebuilding, the soft routines, the laughter that didn't come easy but stayed longer each time. We didn't glue things back the way they were. We stitched new seams, together. It wasn't clean, it wasn't fast, but it was real. And now when I look in the mirror, I don't see the man trying to disappear. I see someone seen, by his kids, by himself. Forgiveness didn't arrive all at once. It came when I stopped needing control and started offering peace. If you've ever felt like just a shadow in your own story, comment below, "I won't be invisible." And hit subscribe to follow the next chapter, how to rebuild your life with truth, strength, and something better than before.